You've been knocked down, maybe once, maybe 7 times, maybe so many times, you lost count, and each time, it gets harder to get back up, harder to believe, harder to try, harder to hope. People say, just stay strong. But how do you stay strong when life keeps swinging? And every swing hits where it hurts most. This isn't a video full of fluff. This is not about pretending everything's okay. This is about truth, raw, real, and necessary. The truth that failure is not the end. It's the invitation. The invitation to rise again. Wiser, stronger, clearer. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because you refuse to let failure define you. You don't need to win every time. You don't need to never fall. You just need to stand up, one more time than you fall. And I know, it hurts. It's exhausting. But every time you stand back up, something inside you changes. Something gets sharper. Something gets louder. And that something is your spirit, the part of you that doesn't quit. You don't need a perfect plan right now. You don't need the applause. You just need one decision. I'm not done yet. Because life will knock you down. That's guaranteed. But what happens next, that's you. So fall 7 times? Fine. Just make sure you stand up 8. Failure isn't the end of your story. It's the part that sharpens the plot. It's the chapter where you discover what you're really made of. Every person you admire, every leader, every builder, every creator, they didn't get there by avoiding failure. They got there by walking through it. Again and again, we're told to fear failure, to avoid it, to see it as a sign we're not enough. But that's a lie. Failure is a test, a teacher, a filter. It removes the fluff. It shows you what's real, what matters, what doesn't, and who you're willing to become when everything falls apart. You don't fail because you're weak. You fail because you're learning, because you're reaching, because you're in the arena. Most people stay on the sidelines their whole lives, just to avoid the pain of failing. But guess what? Playing safe doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It just means you'll feel different pain. The pain of regret, of potential wasted, of chances never taken. The truth is, every failure brings you closer, not further, from your breakthrough. If you don't quit, you fall, you bleed, you question everything. But somewhere in that mess, you gain wisdom, you gain clarity, you gain fire. And that fire, that's what will carry you forward long after talent and luck run out. So no, failure isn't your enemy. Failure is your mirror. It shows you who you are, and who you could become. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. But whatever you do, don't let it define you. Because this is just a chapter. Not the end. Sometimes it takes everything falling apart for you to finally see what's real. When the noise dies down, when the distractions are gone, when the image you built for the world no longer holds, that's when you meet yourself, not the version that's polished, approved, or pretending. The real you, the one beneath the armor, the one who's been waiting to speak. We spend so much of life performing, proving, chasing, trying to hold it all together. But when it all collapses, when the job ends, the relationship breaks, the plan fails, what's left isn't weakness. What's left is truth, the raw, honest version of you, the one who doesn't need applause, the one who isn't powered by ego, the one who's still standing in the silence, saying, I'm not done. Rock bottom is not the end. It's a reset, a reckoning. A rare and sacred place where you no longer have anything to protect, so you finally have the space to rebuild. Not from pressure, but from purpose. Not from fear, but from fire. The kind of fire that only comes when you've been through enough darkness to know what light actually means. And in that moment, when you stop running from the fall, and you choose to rise from it, that's when you become unstoppable. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer, and stronger, and more dangerous, in the best way. So if everything feels like it's falling apart, maybe that's the invitation. To stop pretending, to stop hiding, and to finally build something real, not for the world, but for you. Most people think that standing back up means taking massive action, doing more, hustling harder, fixing everything at once, but that's not where it begins. The journey of rising doesn't start with movement, it starts with meaning, with mindset, with the quiet, internal shift where you stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as becoming. You don't stand up by changing everything overnight. You stand up by changing what you believe about yourself. You stand up when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this here to teach me?" That shift, from blame to ownership, from shame to strength, that's where healing begins. Forgive yourself, not because what happened didn't hurt, but because carrying the pain longer won't build anything better. Let go of the version of you that failed, not by forgetting it, but by choosing to grow past it. The goal isn't to erase the past. The goal is to redeem it, to turn the fall into the foundation. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to have the energy. You just need to decide that you're no longer living beneath your potential. That you're done staying down just because it feels safer than trying again. Because the longer you stay down, the heavier it gets to rise. But the second you decide, everything shifts. Your confidence won't return in one day, but your decision to rebuild can happen in one moment. And that moment starts inside, in the place no one sees, in the story you tell yourself, in the belief that maybe, just maybe, you still have something left to give. So don't rush into action out of panic. Start with presence, with self-respect, with a new inner standard. Because when your spirit stands up first, the body will follow, the habits will follow, the results will follow. And this time, you're not just getting back on your feet, you're building from the inside out. Standing back up takes more than just motivation. It takes a foundation, a structure, a system you can lean on when your emotions are unsteady and your willpower is low. Because rising once is hard, but staying standing, staying steady, staying focused, that requires intentional design. There are 3 things you need to rebuild your life from the inside out. They don't come from outside of you. They come from clarity, discipline, and environment. Get these right, and your comeback won't be temporary. It will be transformational. First, you need a vision, not a vague wish, a clear, detailed picture of who you want to become and what kind of life you refuse to settle without. Vision gives pain a purpose. It turns breakdowns into fuel. It gives you something to move toward, not just something to run from. Without vision, you'll rise with energy but fall again from confusion. So ask yourself, what am I rebuilding for? What does the future me look like, sound like, live like? Make it vivid, make it personal, make it non-negotiable. Second, you need a system. Emotion is inconsistent, but structure creates momentum. You need habits that hold you when your motivation disappears. Morning rituals, budgeting, work routines, sleep discipline, mental check-ins. These aren't restrictions, they're anchors. When you feel lost, your system keeps you from drifting. It turns progress into pattern. It makes resilience automatic. And third, you need the right environment. You can't heal in the same chaos that broke you. You can't grow around people who benefit from your weakness. If your circle doesn't challenge you, elevate you, or believe in your comeback, it's not your circle. Clean your space. Guard your energy. Find people who speak life into your vision and reflect the standard you're trying to live at. These 3, vision, system, and environment, are not luxuries. They're lifelines. Build them intentionally, and they'll catch you when you stumble. Strengthen them daily, and they'll carry you through any storm. Because standing up isn't a one-time event. It's a way of life. And these 3 things, they make that life sustainable. Starting over feels like failure. It feels like admitting you wasted time, made mistakes, fell short, and that feeling can be paralyzing. You look at how far you thought you'd be by now, and compare it to where you are. And it hurts, not just because of what's gone, but because of everything you still have to rebuild. But here's the truth. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience, from lessons, from scars that taught you more than comfort ever could. You've been through enough now to know what doesn't work. And that's not failure. That's clarity. That's leverage. The real danger isn't starting over. The real danger is standing still, letting fear of the past rob you of your future, letting the weight of regret keep you stuck in a cycle you were born to break. You can carry that shame forever, or you can drop it and start writing the next chapter, even if your hands are shaking. Every great story has a turning point, and most of the time, it doesn't begin when everything goes right. It begins when the main character decides, I'm not staying here. It begins when they rise, not because they feel ready, but because they're no longer okay with staying broken. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave for one more day. Brave enough to try again. Brave enough to walk toward the unknown. Brave enough to believe that your future still has room for greatness. So stop thinking of starting over as failure. Start seeing it as freedom. The moment you get to do it better, wiser, stronger, because what you build next might just become the best thing you've ever created. Faith isn't about believing everything will go your way. It's not about expecting the path to be smooth, the people to stay, or the results to come quickly. Real faith, the kind that lasts, is knowing that even when it's hard, even when it hurts, you won't give up. It's looking at the storm and saying, I'm still going. It's standing in the middle of uncertainty and deciding to move anyway. Because you don't need certainty to keep going. You need commitment. You need a reason. You need a voice inside that's louder than the doubt around you, a voice that says, I may not know how yet, but I will not quit here. The strongest people aren't the ones who always win. They're the ones who refuse to surrender. Who keep showing up when no one notices. Who get up every single time life knocks them flat. Not because they're fearless, but because they've decided that quitting is no longer an option. This kind of belief isn't loud. It doesn't always feel confident. Sometimes it's just a whisper. Get up. Sometimes it's just a breath. Keep going. But it's enough. Because that whisper, when repeated enough times, becomes a force nothing can stop. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel strong. Don't wait for everything to make sense. Just trust this. If you keep getting up, if you keep walking, if you keep believing in something better, even if it's just by one more inch each day, you will move forward. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And that strength, built in silence, in struggle, in solitude, becomes your superpower. You've been down long enough. You've replayed the past, questioned yourself, doubted your strength. You've carried the weight of failure, the silence of disappointment, the ache of starting over. But here's the truth. You've already survived the fall. Now it's time to rise. Not perfectly, not instantly, but deliberately. You don't need to fix everything today. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to decide that staying down is no longer your story. That your identity is not the one who gave up, it's the one who refused to stay broken. Every time you stand back up, you rewrite who you are. You declare to yourself, and to the world, that your strength is bigger than your setback. That your future is still open. That your spirit is not done fighting. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you're waiting for permission, you don't need it. If you're waiting for the fear to disappear, it won't. But courage doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you move forward in spite of it. You've fallen 7 times, maybe more, but none of that defines you. What defines you is what you do now. So get up, get clear, get moving, because this is your moment. This is your line in the sand. This is where you stop surviving and start rising. Fall 7 times? Fine. Just make damn sure you stand up 8.